but we do have a very delightful thing to do. We thought this would be the most appropriate time to do it since Josh McDowell is one of our earlier recipients of the Lifetime Achievement Award. Our trustees have voted to give our Lifetime Achievement Award to Ravi Zacharias, and it reads, the National Conference on Christian Apologetics and the National Apologetics Archive Ministries of Southern Evangelical Seminary, in recognition of your service as a minister of the gospel, your scholarship as an apologist, educator, author, and in light of your example as a Christian leader, this 6th edition of the award, Lifetime Achievement in Apologetics, is presented to Dr. Ravi Zacharias, October 14th, 2016. And we have 2 copies of this. One will go to Ravi, and one goes to our Hall of Fame, where Josh, you're already enshrined with our Lifetime Achievement Award. And now we have a very short acceptance video from Ravi Zacharias that we're going to hear, which will then be followed by a video introduction of Dr. McDowell, and then immediately after that, Dr. McDowell will be where I am. All right.
Hello to everyone at Southern Evangelical Seminary, to Dr. Richard Land, the board of directors, the faculty, staff, and the students. What an honor that you are giving to me in a Lifetime Achievement Award. You know, I think of that little quip of somebody who was asked if he'd lived in a particular state all his life, and he just looked and said, not yet, knowing, of course, that all his life had not yet come and been consummated. I feel the same way for a Lifetime Achievement Award. Who knows how many more years the Lord may give me, but my prayer will be that I will honor him. It's been a wonderful journey to be walking with him and to be serving him in this calling as an evangelist, using apologetics for his honor and glory, knowing that only the Holy Spirit can change hearts. Dr. Land, thank you, sir. Please thank the faculty and all of those who voted for this award. My wife, Margie, and my family and I are honored to receive it. Yours is a great work, and we bless you for what you're doing as well. Do pray for us. I send my gratitude and thanks. We will treasure this honor that you have given to us. God bless you.
Good evening. I don't know about you all, but you got to be filled to the brim already. And you still got to hear me. So I'm going to boil it over. I'll boil it over. But I think when I finish, you're going to really appreciate this whole conference even more when you see all the content that's available to you and me. How I wish tonight it could just be you and me, a cup of coffee, and look at each other, and I could share this. It's kind of a new concept for me. About a year ago, I started thinking about this. I would say probably half of you won't get it, and half of you will. And those half of you get it will probably take you from here to here. When I finish tonight, you understand me a lot more. You understand all the different books I've written, the themes and everything else, because of the way I operate. Now tonight, doesn't look like most of you are going to anyway, but don't take notes. I think the craziest thing of anyone, most asinine thing I ever heard, you go to a meeting and you don't take notes. There's times in churches I wanted to someday I'm going to, I'll just stop and walk out. When the pastor sits there like this. Oh my gosh. But anyway, don't take notes tonight, except in this area. 95% of my notes is not what is being said. I can get that on a DVD, whatever. It's what pops into my mind. And I'll trust me, as I speak tonight, ideas, things that happen in your own life and everything are going to pop in your mind. If you don't write it down, you might have a digital mind, but you don't have a memory card. And you will miss out some of the greatest thoughts here tonight, your thoughts. Now, I'm going to be using a lot of stats tonight because there's no other way to do what I want to accomplish in an attitude by the time I finish. I try my best to document everything and to be accurate, but the problem is almost every stat I share here is obsolete already. The moment I research, I spend about $300,000 a year in research. You'll see with this talk tonight, you couldn't do it with less than that. But the moment I find a study, I'm able to verify it with 2 to 3 other studies, and then have a PowerPoint, share at one time, it's obsolete. Ideas have history, not just consequences. There's a history to ideas. Statistics have history. Now, one of the biggest errors I believe in research, and it shows in a lot of apologists and others, they kind of mock old research. I had one say to me, it was about some research about 7, 8 years old, and said, well, Josh, it's too obsolete. I said, man, are you out to lunch? I said, some of your most valuable research can be 10, 15, 20 years old. You see, if you don't do that, you cannot catch trends. And almost everybody today that writes books, speaks everything else, they're in a little window like this. And if you don't know where you've come from, you're not going to know how to get to where we need to get. And trust me, when I finish tonight, you know we got to pull out all stops. It's the trend, stupid. It's the trend. I can't believe SES printed that. I loved it. I first want to lay 3 foundations that will understand trends. The first is over the last number of years, we've had an epistemological shift. Now, what's epistemology? The study of truth. What is truth? Where does it come from, etc. We have a total, complete shift in epistemology and what truth is and where it comes from. I want to give you, now, everything I do tonight is going to be brief because I want you to get an attitude. At my table, I wish I had them all here, there's a whole bunch of cards. On there, you can download all my PowerPoint transcripts, everything free. Plus, there's 4 huge portfolios out there. All documented, you can download them free. You can download them free. I believe every one of us should be a cheerleader for others in the body of Christ. That's why I share any of my PowerPoints, anything else. Most speakers, you almost have to pay them a fortune just to look at it. I give them away. My wife says, but that's your life. I said, I know. It makes me become more creative. So I want to show you, first of all, epistemologically, where we're at and how we got there. We'll go all the way back for quite a few years. For hundreds of years, this was a paradigm. At the top is a personal creator God. At the bottom is created man. For hundreds of years, this was the paradigm of truth. All truth resided in a personal creator God. Psychological truth, historical truth, scientific truth, whatever, epistemologically, theologically, everything, all reside in a personal creator God. Man at the bottom of the video screen of history responded to a God in which all truth resided. Then years later came onto a scene, I think you call it a movement, called the Renaissance. Now the Renaissance came onto the scene and said, look, we don't need God. Now why? Now notice each one is different. See how great man is. This is when they started creating pictures and paintings of the human body, statues, everything else. And what the Renaissance did was bring the concept of a personal creator God about a quarter of the way down the video screen of history and elevate a man. And you know, I don't think it would have gone much further than that if it hadn't been followed by the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment came onto the scene and said, now we don't need God, but for a whole different reason. See how great man can reason. He can reason through the sin problem. He can reason through salvation. The greatest graphic I know of the Enlightenment is this graphic here. A man, a captain of a ship in a huge storm, and Jesus standing there with his arm almost in his shoulder. And remember, the caption read that Jesus is the master of my destiny. Now, picture in your mind, what the Enlightenment did was reach over and take that hand off. And then the caption read, because of the Enlightenment, I am the master of my destiny. And what the Enlightenment did was bring a personal creator God another quarter of the way down history and elevated man. And then that was followed a number of years later by something most people miss, the metaphysical, theological, philosophical impact of the Industrial Revolution. It had a profound impact on thinking. The Industrial Revolution came along and said, we don't need God. Why? See how great man can create. This is when the patents, the machines just exploded in the world. And what the Industrial Revolution did was bring a concept of personal creator God another quarter of the way down history and elevated man. And then it was followed at the turn of the century with Darwinism. Now, I'm trying to be accurate here and phrase it. Darwin says we don't even need the concept of a personal creator God. And with that, the very concept in many people's minds that there is a personal creator God in which all truth resides fell off the video screen of history. And this left created man. Out of this has developed almost every line of thinking today. I can take almost anyone in church, anyone apart from church, and trace it back to this progression here. For example, the greatest virtue in all of history, accepted by the majority of people and everything else, is tolerance. It came right out of here. You say, come on, how tolerant? Very simple. How could one man say to another man, or one woman to another man or a woman, your values aren't as good as mine? Where's your external reference point? There is none. Well, there's the Bible. Well, that's your belief as a Christian. How can you say my lifestyle isn't as good as yours? Where's your external reference point? There is none. And this is why Sean and I wrote the book, The Beauty of Intolerance, because I think tolerance is probably one of the greatest evils ever taught. Now, Christians get upset with that. It's because they haven't studied tolerance and how we got to where it is. Out of here came diversity. Diversity doesn't mean diverse color of your skin. It has nothing to do with that. Diversity philosophically means with all of our diverse values, with all of our diverse beliefs, with all of our diverse lifestyles, they're equal. Diversity means equality in the midst of diversity. Out of this came another great virtue by most people in the world today, multiculturalism. How do you understand multiculturalism? Basically, multiculturalism is tolerance, all is equal, applied to culture. How can one culture say to another culture, well, your lifestyles aren't as good as ours? Where's your external reference point? That's only your opinion. That's only your cultural value. Who are you to judge me? How can you tell me that my beliefs aren't as good as yours? Where's your external reference point? That's where it came out. All cultures are equal. And if you dare to say there's one culture greater or lesser than another culture, then you will be labeled a bigot, which means you are anti-multicultural. Now, out of this came a tremendous progression when it comes to truth. Now, you can go to, take that little card, download it all, you can get all the documentation on it. In 1991, 52% of evangelical young people said, there is absolute truth. I hate that word, absolute truth. It just grates me. I like the term universal truth. Because to me, absolute truth is that which is true for all people, in all places, at all times. It's universal, not any one particular culture, whatever. And in 1991, 52% said there is no universal truth. In 1994, it jumped to 62%. There is no universal truth. In 1999, it jumped to 78%. Do you see the trend? There is no absolute truth. And last year, it jumped to over 91%. All stats have history. And if you don't understand the history, you will get off base with statistics, especially if you're very narrow like this. Another study showed that of all youth in America, and we spent probably $200,000 in 8 different countries and did the same study, almost identical. There's probably no country more than 6 to 7% behind any stat in the United States. But all youth in the United States said, 6% said there is truth, meaning there is truth apart from myself, a universal moral standard. Of non-Christians, 4%, of Christians, 9%. Same as the other study, 91% says there is no truth. In this study, 9% says there is truth. Kind of confirms one another. You need to catch the trend. Do you hold to the core biblical values? The deity of Christ, the infallibility of the Scriptures, the resurrection, truth, faith through salvation in Christ? The generation in 1945, 65% of young people said they believed in that value. In 1964, it went down to 35%. In 1983, it went down to 15%. Now it's right about 4 to 5%. Do you see the trend? Here's what happened. It made 2 cultures, the adult culture and the youth culture, this historical progression. For example, to the adult culture, all truth is discovered. It's external. You shall know the truth. You shall discover the truth, and you discover it. Oh, not to young people. Not to most millennials and down. Truth is not discovered. That's crazy. All truth, all moral truth, etc., is created. What do you think that phrase means? Well, that might be true for you, but it's not true for me. Who are you to judge me? Where's your external reference point? To youth, for example, if we're doing a Bible study here with all, say, those 36, 37 and older, and I would say, well, Janet, what did Jesus mean when he said this? Or, Bill, when Paul wrote this, what did he mean? See, that's how most of us here think, and that's how we were trained to think and all. Oh, that is so far out in left field from millennials and down, because they will think this way. Well, what do you think? When Jesus said that, what does it mean to you? Well, when Paul wrote that, what does that mean to you? See, it doesn't matter what it meant to Jesus. Because in the new line of thinking, whatever you believe is true is just as true as whatever Jesus taught. You know why most people don't get that? They've never sat in a young people's interaction groups, small groups, and things like that, or Bible. They haven't sat there and listened. Most pastors never have. And for most people, 38, 40 and over, it goes right over their head. Another thing that this epistemological shift has done is this. To the adult generation, if it is true, it will work. That's how we were conditioned. That's how we've been taught. That's so foreign to a young person. To a young person, if it works, it is true. You say, Josh, that's no big deal. Then you and the ostrich with your head stuck in cement. This here is probably one of the biggest differences between adult and the youth generation. You see, if a pastor made a choice to go into sexual immorality, don't let people get away with, well, it just happened. No. Every affair has history and consequences. And most of the adults in the congregation would say about the pastor, well, he's not living the truth. Because they know if it is true, it will work. So why isn't it working? He's not living the truth. Oh, young people don't even think that way. Oh, well, majority will think this way. It's not true. What? Whatever the pastor teaches. Why? It doesn't work. In one study, I think it was 78% of evangelical young people said the only way you know something is true if it works. Then, now put this right here. Now we have another storm front right here. It's called a massive data glut. Oh, this is affecting every one of us. And most speakers, apologists, pastors, youth don't realize how it is affecting them and their ministry. On the global internet, now this is totally, completely obsolete. There was 3.3 billion interacted users. 3.3 billion on the internet. Now it's probably about 3.7, 3.8. People say, well, the internet can't keep going. Well, look at this chart. And the professionals say, in the next 15, 20 years, it's not going to slow down. It's going to go right through the ceiling. Nothing with the internet has slowed down. Now, look at the pace of penetration of technology and all. Now, the amount of time it takes for a new technology to be used by 50 million people. Now, you understand? How long does it take for 50 million people to use the new technology? With the radio, it took 38 years for 50 million people. For the telephone, 20 years. For television, 13 years. The World Wide Web, 4 years. Facebook, 3.6 years. Twitter, 3 years. iPad, 2 years. Google, 88 days. Pokemon Go, 21. And I was one of them. No. You look at what's happening with the glut. Total web pages, 14.3 trillion web pages. One click away. You know how much a trillion is? I'm doing this off the top of my head. To count to 1 million would take you 23 days. To count to 1 billion would take you 95 years. To count to 1 trillion would take you 200,000 years. To count to a quadrillion would be 1.2 million years. Most people don't realize how gigantic these numbers are. Total registered addresses, .com, .org, 1.1 billion. Total number of websites, 1.1 billion. One click away. I tried to figure out just how big is the internet? Well, I tried to do my homework with the experts and everything else, and this is what I concluded and was confirmed. Nobody knows. No, I'm serious. Nobody knows just how big it is because it's changing so fast from one second to another. But here's what we came up a number of months ago, several months ago. What does a global internet process in just 24 hours of data? 1.742 quadrillion gigabytes every 24 hours. You can't even count to that in 300, 400 lifetimes. What's a gigabyte? A gigabyte equals 133,251 8.5 by 11 pages of data. Now multiply that out with 1.742 quadrillion. Every 24 hours, the internet processes 232 sextillion 8.5, 11 pages of data. No apologist in history has ever faced anything like this. No seminary ever has. That means every hour, 9.6 sextillion pages every hour. Every minute, 161 quintillion pages. Every second, 2.6 quintillion. 2.6 quintillion. Right now, 2.6. Every pastor is in competition with that. Every youth pastor, every author, every speaker, every apologist, every parent, every grandparent is in competition with that, folks. And most people don't realize that. The scientists tried to calculate how many pieces of paper would it take to print the entire internet right now. Everything stopped, they print what's on the internet. 8.5 sheets stacked up would be 8,300 miles high. Just this moment. It would take 16 million trees to produce that paper. Trends. In 2012, the average adolescent spent 18 hours on a moving screen. Not counting TV. In 2014, it jumped to 42 hours. 2015, 77 hours. The average adolescent This is average. Every 24 hours from a moving screen, that's not Kindle, whatever, from a moving screen takes in 34 gigabytes a day. You know what that comes to by 8.5 to 11 pages of data? 4.5 million every 24 hours they take into their brain. Do you ever wonder why they don't have much more than an 8-second time span? It's not because they're dumb. It's not because they're not very smart. It has nothing to do with it. They're in overload. How do you get through all that noise to get your message? Few people seem to be asking that. You look at blogs. In 2013, there were 181 million bloggers. Now there's 1.5 billion in 1 year. Mobile app downloads. 2013, 81 billion. 2014, 131 billion. 2015, 205 billion. Half of those were mine. And I wonder why my iPad is so slow. But this is the one. This is one of the two. The one about teenagers taking in 34 gigabytes every 24 hours equals this stat. YouTube. You all know what YouTube is. It's just one of many sites like that. YouTube, in 2013, every minute, there was uploaded 100 hours of videos every 60 seconds. That's 6,000 hours every 60 minutes. You know what it is now? And I double-checked this. In 2015, 400 hours every minute uploaded to YouTube. That's 24,000 every 60 minutes, 24/7. You're in competition with that in your church, in your home, as a parent, grandparent, a pastor, a youth pastor, a writer, a speaker, an author, a seminary. How do you break through all that noise? That means uploaded every day, 576,000 hours of video uploaded to one site. Videos watched on an average each year. Now get this, folks, 1.5 trillion. It would take you 1.8 million years to count that. Videos watched on average each month, 205 billion. Videos watched on average each day, 6 billion. Watched each second, 116,000 videos, 116,000, 116,000, 116,000. You take Wikipedia. Don't laugh at Wikipedia. It's one of 3 places adolescents go to for truth. Not the church, not your website, etc. They go to Wikipedia. Wikipedia, a multilingual web-based free content encyclopedia, dumbed down Encyclopedia Britannica, and that's not a joke, contains 5 million individual articles. 5 million. And just one website, and for the most part in 30 to 40 languages. That's 38 million pages on one website. Over 1 billion websites. To read those pages at 2 minutes a page would take an individual 140,750 days or 389 years. How do you break through that? With your studies. How do seminary professors teach their students to break through that? Folks, we have to. Right now, we're not. We're close. Look at Google search. In 2013, 1.2 billion. 2014, 2.4 billion. It doubled in 12 months. In 2015, 1.1 trillion. And you better know this. Whatever you teach, you better be accurate, because they're going to Google you. No, I'm serious. I love it. But they're going to Google you. Every day, 3.5 billion Google search. That's not Bing and all the others. That's 190 million every hour. What the internet has done is this second of the 3 emphasis. One, it's leveled the playing field. You see, 25 years ago, say 15 to 30 years ago, atheists, agnostics, many who despise anything that you and I believe for the most part, had very little access to our young